Good afternoon, everyone. Let's take a moment to talk about undereating and reverse dieting. Oh, I have to add an extra disclaimer here. I am not a medical doctor. I don't even play one on TV, so take everything with a grain of salt. Make sure you talk to your medical professional to get the best advice for you. Everything in here is based on my experiences, my studies for nutrition and fitness, but I am not a medical professional. So take it with a grain of salt, and remember, always validate the medical things that you hear from randos on the internet with a skeptical eye. Thanks. Hey everyone, welcome to the Radical Geek YouTube channel where we regularly release videos. Every Friday we have a video called Cheese Friday where we review a different cheese and talk about the properties it holds, as well as on Sunday we host a live stream, affectionately coined Coffee Talk, where we brew a beverage together and then pair it with a ketogenic recipe and then chat amongst ourselves. So, however, today I'm starting off a little series of videos where we're going to talk about reverse dieting. This is a solution that to chronic undereating, and when I say undereating, I don't mean even like starvation, anorexia undereating. Although that is this is one thing that will work with that too, but that requires medical intervention and a lot of other things along with it. Uh, in this case, reverse dieting is simply going from a low calorie kind of diet and having that mindset of restricted caloric eating or overall restricted volume of eating in order to trigger weight loss. And we'll get into more details there, but it's way more information and technical talk than these videos really are meant to contain. We're not going to do this video for an hour. That would be insane, and you won't absorb the information. So, but the catalyst for this conversation is because in a lot of groups, a lot of people, especially when you talk about ketogenic eating, especially if you have things like diabetes, or if you are trying to lose weight, or if you're like me, someone who had a combination of those, but then wound up in a ketogenic food plan due to a health issue, aka my cancer and seizures. So I learned an awful lot going through this, and as it turns out, there's a lot of science behind it, and they've been utilizing this in the bodybuilding world. But for some reason, it never trickled outside of that region until just recently. And one of the things people think happens in a ketogenic food plan is that, well, you're restricting so many things, you're just naturally under eating. Not necessarily true. In fact, if you work through things and you start eating properly, you're going to find that you actually have an overall caloric increase. What you've done, though, is you've given your body nutrition in which to move forward and increase your metabolism. So give me a second here for a sip of my afternoon double shot of espresso, my coffee experience. It's been a long day. I've been talking all day long, so I'm a little scratchy in the throat. I also have some Ultima electrolytes because I wanted to bump up a little bit before I head out for a bike ride. I know I'm all completely off kilter, off subject. So let's talk about this a little bit. So, what is a reverse diet, anyways? Now that I've blathered on for 100 years and you still don't know what I'm talking about. A reverse diet is slowly increasing your metabolism by increasing the amount of food you eat in a little bit at a time. What that does is it helps your body develop the potential to build muscle and increase the energy you have overall. in the moment, and also increases something called the thermic effect of food. And thermic effect of food is going to be like a whole video in and of its own. So don't worry about it so much right now. Just know that your body creates energy just utilizing and processing and storing the food you eat, yada, yada, yada. Good enough for today. So um, it's important to know that reverse dieting is meant to increase your metabolism. We talk about that. Things that if you've been in diet or health industry or just deep in the weeds for a long time, BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is the number of calories your body burns uh, for just existing. You know, breathing, getting out of bed in the morning, not doing much else. That's your BMR, just so you stay alive. Um, And I did mention the thermic effect of food. So just, it's the number of calories you burn to digest your food. Like I said, processing it and all of that fun stuff. The next term is going to be, it's NEAT, called NEAT, NEAT. That's your non-exercise activity. So a number of calories that happen just from doing your everyday, walking around the house, sweeping the floors, washing dishes. I know not everybody does those activities, but at some point you probably have. Maybe you had to, do your load of laundry, things like that. And then finally, your exercise, which is the number of calories you burn while engaging in physical activity. And we've had those videos too, talking about the differences in exercise. Maybe we'll do another one as part of this series where we differentiate between cardio, endurance, and strength training, combinations, how movement and all of that fun stuff works with in conjunction with all of this other stuff. Are you confused yet? Leave your message down in the comment section and say like where I lost you, and so that we can circle back and hone in on that activity. Like I said, today it's going to feel like a lot of gobbledygook that's not going to sink in. Just enough of it is going to ping your brain enough to get you started to ask questions. And asking questions is the goal. That's what leads us to learning. So all the time we talk about a broken metabolism or healing our metabolism. And while those are nice words, it's actually technically not what we mean, because your metabolism isn't necessarily broken. What has happened is through restricting your food in quantity so much is that your metabolism slows down. It slows down because it's not getting enough nutrition in to help your body thrive. It's not getting enough nutrition in to grow your muscles. So, what it is trying to do is preserve fat and store up fat to help you maintain and function, kind of keep that energy going. And then it's burning off some of the sugars and then convert it to sugar, all of your chemical reactions that convert to energy. So, not eating enough food might, on the surface, make you seem to be losing weight, but eventually it plateaus out, it slows down, it stops, it gets harder, everything is a struggle, and you also don't feel great because you are in that big calorie deficit. Uh, you might want a teeny deficit, but really not so much. Actually, what you want is an increase in energy and the building blocks to build more muscle, reduce the fat stores, and get energy and have a healthy body. When you have those other things, the weight loss happens as part of the side effect there, in a good way, a good side effect. So when we talk about metabolism, I mean, let's face it, maybe some of us are not even there. We're just like, everybody tells me my metabolism is broken. And you don't really know what that means. That's okay. For a long time, I didn't either. So, metabolism, it's the sum of your body's chemical reactions that convert or use energy. So, just like I mentioned before, that's what leads us back to that BMR. Again, I'll reiterate how many calories you burn just for being alive. NEAT, our non-exercise activity, just your everyday roundabout errands, housework, general things that you do every single day of the week, you know. And then you have your exercise, calories you burn while doing hard stuff. And then thermic effect of food, your TEF, it's the number of calories you burn for digesting food. I'm sorry to be distracted. There was some loud noise over by my door. I thought maybe I was getting a package delivery from my spouse or something. I'm waiting for a couple board games, so it's really hard not to be, overexcited at every little sound. So here's what it is. We start restricting calories, or you don't raise your caloric intake as you begin something like a ketogenic diet where you're restricting carbohydrates and your metabolism continues to slow down. That would be impacting your NEAT, remember, the calories we need just to do your everyday sort of things, and your exercise. So you don't have enough food to really power you through your exercise. For a while, sure, it's going to do that, and you'll lose some weight, but then it's going to start eating your muscles, and then you're going to start feeling crappy. And while they're important, they're actually less important than your BMR and TEF energies, which come from, ta-da, eating more food. So if you're not eating enough food, you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough nutrition for your exercise, etc. So in addition, this is going to sound very surprising, but your muscle requires more calories to maintain. So if again, if we're back on that, if you're restricting your calories, it's going to use your muscle. Your muscles are your energy source. That's why we stress that you need to eat enough fat, because the fat you eat is your fuel. No, your body doesn't eat the fat you've stored before the fat you eat. It doesn't work that way. And we had a whole video about that too, where we talked about the importance of fat and how fat is a stored resource that doesn't get burnt by your activities, etc. So just all that kind of thing. It gets really deep in here. This is why so what happens now is not only have you been eating reduced calories for every time you increase, if you increase too much, you gain some weight and then you panic, so you back it back down. And then you think, I can never eat over this minuscule amount of calories. And long term, you may think that's what you need to do, but sustainable long term, it's not, because it's not going to nourish your body. So you'll have nutrition deficiencies, you'll have energy deficiencies, and eventually it's going to stop working. And your body will also eventually either start putting the weight on a little bit at a time, hold even and continue to cannibalize your muscles, so you'll wonder why you always feel weak and puny all the time. Really, basically, when you've done all the work to slow your metabolism down, you're just going to be more fat, and carrying excess fat in your stores can increase your risk of illness. Not for everybody. Now, I mean, there is that. It doesn't mean that automatically if you're fat you're unhealthy. There are plenty of people who are fat who are perfectly healthy. They're the epitome of health. So this is not one of those moments where it's like, that's not what I'm saying. It's completely different than fat stores in your cells, etc., etc. So that's a different. That's again another offshoot video to talk about. So we're actually talking about metabolism and how that's tied. So this is different. So reverse dieting now. So okay, all I've talked about is being on calorie restriction. Reverse dieting, that's how we fix it. That's what we do. You give your body food so your metabolism can speed back up. When we talk about my metabolism is broken, your metabolism isn't broken. Your metabolism has been slowed. It has been slowed and it's no longer really working for your body. So when we heal your metabolism, What we actually are meaning is that we've increased your metabolism, and you're now allowing your body to return to a normal intake to fuel your body efficiently. So how does that happen? So what you do is, in short increments, you're going to increase the amount of caloric intake you have into your food plan. So if you are eating 1,200 calories, which is not enough for any adult, it's just not. That's a minimum for existence, not a minimum for health, a minimum to not be dying, and not a minimum for living healthy and thriving, a minimum for not being dead. So you have to really think about it in those terms. It sounds really unpleasant, doesn't it? But that is what we have accepted as the norm. So reverse dieting, if you're going to have that, the next step then is and unfortunately, this is not a fast process. For 2, 4, 6 weeks, add 100 calories to your daily intake. If you can't handle it and it makes you not feel good, like you've been eating 1,200 calories for 15 years, and just going over a little bit harms, makes you sick and you don't feel good, even if it's psychosomatic, because psychosomatic symptoms are still symptoms. Back it off, do it for 50 for 2 weeks, and then do a bump up. But these small increments are important. Sometimes people say, I'm doing it, I've decided to go all in, and they'll go from having eaten 1,200 calories for the last 10 years, and suddenly they've increased to 1,800, and it does not go well. No, you have to unfortunately do it the hard way. So 2, 4, 6 weeks, adding 100 calories to your daily intake for the week at a time. The first time 100 calories, the next round add 50, and so on and so forth. You need to do this slowly, and doing so, you'll eventually, and the reason you need to do it so slowly is because initially, the very first time you increase, you are going to see weight gain. Don't panic. This is where everybody panics. That's okay. Your metabolism is really slow. It doesn't fix overnight. It's scary, yes, but it's going to be okay. Your body has to adjust to having the additional fuel. And as it does, then it starts releasing some of those fat stores and putting some of the nutrition towards the rebuilding of your muscles. And then as you continue this cycle, little by little, it's going to say like, okay, we can take this nutrition, let's go ahead and build this muscle. And as you may recall, muscle is a bit more dense than fat. So if you're losing fat and it's and creating muscle, you might not see large amounts of weight loss. What you might be seeing is a physical difference in your inches, or just like looser clothes, or maybe you just don't feel quite so stuffed sausagey. Uh, it's really hard to say. But that's probably enough for today. But let's start with, if you are eating a low amount of calories, I want to encourage you to reach out to me. I will be glad to work with you if you're interested in this reversal type of plan. We can really dive in, get deep in the weeds. Uh, I think what I'm going to do is just break this over several weeks worth of Wednesdays so that we can talk about each of these things and get into it. Because I know this was like, I just threw so much junk at you and not enough to really help you understand it, just enough to get you to understand that we need to eat food to be healthy, and more food than you think. I want you to be wary of food plans that tell you to back off and eat less and less and less and less. Rarely is the answer to eat less. I'm not saying that's never the answer. Certainly it can be, but that's very rare. Almost always the answer is that you need to have more food for nutrition. So that's it for today. I hope that you all are having an amazing, awesome hump day. We look forward to seeing a whole bunch of you at Keto Palooza. Let me know in the comments where I lost you or which part of this page you're interested the most and which of these subjects you want to see more of and how you want to talk about it. Share your stories if you've done a reverse diet and you've seen the benefits. Uh, Let us know if you've had a struggle, and then maybe we can talk about that struggle and how to mitigate it. All those things. Leave it in the comment. And of course, if you're new to the Radical Geek YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and then the little bell icon so that you're notified every time we upload or go live. So I hope you have an amazing day. I'm going to go ride my bike and have a great afternoon in the sunshine. Bye bye.